Brother Raza and Mrs. Fatima Mamdani, Brother Ihtisham and Mrs. Shamaka Rizvi, Brother Raza and Mrs. Narjis Zaidi. May I request you all to recite Surah Fatiha for all the Maroomins of all their families. Fatiha.
Did you get them ayat? Yeah? Maybe ready today. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyul azim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyul azim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ba'iril khalaiqi ajma'in. Ba'ithil anbiya'i wal mursalin. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على البشير النذير السراج المنير سيدنا ونبينا وشفيئنا إن شاء الله الخاتم لما سبق والفاتح لمن غلق المؤلن الحق بالحق أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل عليه وعلى أهل بيته مظاهر جمالك وجلالك الذين كلامهم نور وأمرهم رشد ووصيتهم التقوى وفعلهم الخير وعادتهم الإحسان وسجيتهم الكرم أما بعد صدق الله تعالى حيث يقول وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي صلوات بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم مؤردون صلوات السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of the most merciful Master, the most magnificent, the most high. He is Rabbul Alameen, the nourisher, the sustainer. I begin by giving thanks to Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's most choicest blessings be upon all the Prophet, especially the final Prophet, his holy family and his pious companions. So we're on day 8 of 30 in maximizing Ramadan 2023. So today I will speak about continuing the spirit of Ramadan. So as it's my last night here, we're going to do a recap. Alhamdulillah, it's gone really well. So just a quick recap of what we've covered so far in the previous nights. So on the first one, we spoke about physical well-being, eating moderately, eating healthily. We looked at a Quranic ayah where it says, let man consider their food. And the hadith of the Prophet and the Imams about how to eat and what to eat. And also, one of my favorite topics, the benefit of cold showers. And this night had two parts. So that was the first part, and the second part was about controlling your soul, controlling your anger, especially when you're playing FIFA or driving your car. And night 2 we spoke about having hope and mercy in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we looked at two verses in depth, Surah Baqarah verse 186 and Surah Zumar verse 53, on how to open up our hearts to receive the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and get familiar with the Quran and use the Quran practically. Then it was the weekend, hence why I forgot what night we were on. So it made it talk 3, but night 5. We spoke passionately about the rights of the parents, spoke about respecting our elders, our grandparents. We got a few smiles when it came to the rights of the fathers. And we also spoke in brief about the legacy and teachings of Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen salawatullah wa salamu alayh, and her teachings and her legacy of her tasbih, and how we can gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through her immaculate character. Talk 4 was about familiarizing yourself with the Prophet on an emotional and spiritual level through the Quran, and we took practical lessons from his life and showed how we can apply it to our own life. Yesterday we spoke about Imam Ali, Islam and Tawheed, and we examined a few verses from Dua Qumail to understand Imam Ali's relationship with God and what hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually looks like. And we linked this to Surah Zumar verse 53. Today I want to move forward with all this in mind, and want to move forward with the rest of the month of Ramadan, bringing with it this positive energy and maximizing this month, so we don't say in the final days of Ramadan, oh, I've just got used to it and now it's over. You want to say that this Ramadan was the best one yet. I really made the most of it thanks to these ahadith, to the Quran, and I really did the best that I could this month. And like I said, when we're here, we're next to the campfire, so we're all warm, we're all enjoying the Quran, the ahadith, we're enjoying each other's company, we're breaking our fast together, we're examining Dua Qumail, we're looking at Imam Ali's life, we're looking at the Prophet's life, we're looking at Bibi Fatima, Imam Hussein, and so on. However, the real test is when we go home, or when we go to school or work, or when we're in our cars or at gym or wherever. See what difference this has actually made to your life so far. And by now we should have adapted to the routine of suhoor and iftar, so our body clocks should have adapted by now. So we should take something from each night and apply it, so that the warmth of this campfire, it continues burning strong within us, keeping us warm, keeping us focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this talk today will be in two parts. The first part will be giving charity, and the second part will be how we welcome people to the masjid. So this verse that I quoted at the beginning, Surah 2 verse 83, it says, and remember when we took a covenant from the children of Israel, stating, worship none but Allah, be kind to your parents, relatives, orphans and the needy, speak kindly to people, establish prayer and pay the zakat, but you turned away except for a few of you. So we learn here that Islam hasn't brought anything new. The Jews were also commanded to only worship Allah, be kind to your parents, your relatives, the orphans and needy. So this is not anything new, and we should pray the salah, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and give in charity. And just on the linguistic analysis of the word zakat, it comes from the root letters in Arabic, zakah, and then the ya, zaki, zakka, yuzaki, right? So this means to purify, it means purity. So when you give in charity, when you do zakat, we're actually purifying ourselves, and perhaps we're purifying our wealth as well. So when we give charity, don't see it as a one-way thing that we're only helping the poor people out. No, we are also being purified. We're not just helping others. In turn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping us, and we are observing this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also in Surah 9 verse 103, it says, take from their wealth, O Prophet, charity to purify and bless them and pray for them. Surely your prayer, Ya Rasulullah, is a source of comfort for them, and Allah is all hearing, all knowing. So this shows that charity actually purifies ourselves. And I found a beautiful hadith in a book, Tuhaful Uqul, today. I was actually randomly flicking through the book, and I came through a wonderful hadith attributed to Imam Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayh, who states in this regard, offer your soul and your wealth to your friend, offer your equity and fairness for your enemy, and offer your courtesy and charity for people. Greet people so that they may greet you. And this is actually a really, really beautiful hadith by the Imam. So what he's saying is, so for your friend, give everything, the Imam is saying. Because what is more to give than your blood and your wealth? There's nothing else more that you can give. And this shows that the one you consider your true friend are more like your family. They become your blood. And I think this is why everyone in Bradford says bro to each other. The next piece of advice from the Imam is particularly difficult for me. It says, offer your equity and fairness to your opponent, whether that's football or jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or even on the battlefield or when you're playing FIFA with each other. Be fair and be just with each other. Because even in these moments, we are still the flag bearers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And it's easy to forget that we're still ambassadors of the religion here. And then the Imam carries on and he says, offer good manners and charity to people. And the Quran directs us to give charity to the orphans and needy, be they widows, travelers or a long journey, or even a friend. As a famous saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. And on the topic of charity, the Quran and Imam Ali, there's two really famous ayat which are actually the Fada'il of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It's chapter 58 verse 12 and 13. And in Ulum al-Quran, these are studied in depth in Quranic sciences. In the topic of Nasikh and Mansukh, in the topic of abrogation, it goes Salawat. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu idha najaytum ar-Rasul faqaddimu bayna yadayn najwakum sadaqa dhalika khayrun lakum wa athhar fa in lam tajidu fa inna Allaha ghafurur rahim. O believers, when you consult the messenger privately, give something in charity before your consultation. That is better and purer for you. But if you lack the means, then truly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most forgiving, most merciful. And in the next verse it says, أَشَفَّقْتُمْ أَن تَقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ نَجْوَاكُمْ صَدَقَاتٍ فَإِذْ لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَتَابَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَاللَّهُ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Are you afraid of spending in charity before your private consultations with Rasulullah? Since you are unable to do so, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned to you in mercy, and then continue to establish the prayer, pay the alms tax, and obey Allah and His Messenger, and Allah is all aware of what you do. So according to Sayyid Hui here, many people used to come to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and speak to him hours on end, and they would not leave him alone. And you know, the Prophet, out of his humble and shy character, he would not tell them to leave him. So the verse came down, O believers, that when you come to Rasulullah, when you consult him privately, give something in charity before you come to Rasulullah. And that is better, and look, it uses the word purer, that is better and purer for you. However, when this verse came down, all these people that were coming to Rasulullah beforehand, now they weren't spending they weren't giving in charity, so they stopped coming to Rasulullah. However, there was only one man that came, and it was Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So he was the one who gave in charity when consulting Rasulullah. Hence the ayah says, are you afraid of spending in charity before consulting Rasulullah? Since you are unable to do so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being merciful with you. So continue praying, giving zakat and obeying Allah and His Messenger. Allah is all aware of what you do. So what Sayyid Hui says is verse 12 here has been abrogated by verse 13, because only this wujub of paying zakat only got cancelled because Imam Ali alayhi salam paid. So he says that this is in honor of Amirul Mu'mineen, this abrogated ayah. Although we today cannot have a private company with Rasulullah, we should take a message from this verse that do not be afraid nor shy to give in charity whenever you can, and know that Allah is all-seeing and all-knowing, and this should be a sufficient for all of us. So just bear in mind that charity, we should give it no matter how big or how small, and give it with open hearts, and do not look and do not spread that I've given this and I've given that, in line with the prophetic teaching, in line with what Amir al-Mu'mineen has said. And now on to the second part, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I want to speak really briefly about how we welcome people into our centers, because this has been a topic of conversation for a while now, whether it's Shia going to Sunni mosque or vice versa, or converts attending our masajid, or the kids or the youth, whoever it is. How do we welcome them? How do we greet them? And the reason why this is important is because many youth nowadays who come to the mosque, sometimes they get blasted out the doors quicker than they came in. Some people will get looks, for example, for wearing shorts or having a funny haircut or whatever the case is. And a regular of the mosque who believes he has some sort of monopoly of the area will start speaking harsh to such a person, that this is wrong, don't do this, don't do that, get a proper haircut, wear proper clothes and when you come here and so on. This is good in its own time and place, but it's the way you say it to someone, because maybe this is the first time someone's come to the mosque and they'll never come back. Sometimes people will come, for example, from outside playing sports. They might not be wearing the correct attire, and they might be on the way home from football or on the way to football, and they're quickly coming in to pray. But instead, some of them have come out feeling worse than going in. Some of them might be getting verbally abused for not having the correct hijab, for example, or not knowing the culture of the mosque. A brother or sister may be trying their best. They might be new into the religion, they might be converts, or they've recently started practicing. We should show mercy to such people, be kind to them, because there's no need to verbally bash someone because their hijab is not proper, for example. And this is a disease in many Muslim societies, and we shouldn't turn people away. And it's just because it's come up recently that I'm speaking about this. And there was a short video I watched online where the Sheikh was saying that a person, he attended a masjid, probably the only time he went as well, and he didn't go back because of the way he was treated. Whatever the scenario was, this person was spoken rudely and left the mosque broken. However, the funny thing is, he went to the nightclub and he bought a drink, he bought some alcohol, and he dropped it all. But what happened here is the bartender came up to him, he said, don't worry about it. He cleaned it all up for him and he gave him another one for free. So look at this scenario. There's more akhlaq from this bartender in the nightclub than a regular sometime in the masajid. And honestly, this is a disease that we see from people. Many people are turning away from the mosque. Why? Sometimes because the content is dry, it's unappealing. Sometimes it might be sectarian on both sides, Sunni and Shia. Sometimes it's irrelevant or in a language that we don't even understand. And recently I spoke to a resident alim of a center, and he says a lot of people don't come like they used to before. And I said, I think a lot of professionals don't come anymore, like doctors and nurses and pharmacists and engineers and teachers and so on. Maybe they're not resonating with the content. Maybe the way religion is being put forward is not in the best way. But he goes, look, whatever the case is, when their family member passes away, the first person they call for the ghusl and the kafan and the janazah is the Maulana. The Maulana's on speed dial then. So I actually thought about this, and I thought a few ideas came to our mind. In our centers, when we have Dua Kumail, we could have Dua Kumail and FIFA, Dua Iftita and table tennis, discussion circles, book clubs, Quran and volleyball, Hadith circles and badminton. We've got a very good badminton player in our midst as well, and I know you play tennis and stuff like that. And we've got a lot of talent in the community that we can utilize within the mosque program itself. But anyhow, these are just a few thoughts I've had in my head, which has been currently happening. And we end this night by remembering the importance of charity, of brotherhood, the Quran, and welcoming people with open arms in our houses and in our masajid. After all, many Uthmanis were in the camp of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. With his positive character they came. The classical example of Hur, the Imam did not discriminate against him. Considering what had happened, the Imam could have easily said, look, you've put us in this position, why are you coming to us now? However, the Imam welcomed him with mercy and an open heart. He did not discriminate against him. He didn't say, it's your fault we're here, and go away from us. But this is not the akhlaq of the Imam, nor of his brother, his father, his grandfather, nor of his beloved mother. He is the best representative of Rahmatul lil Alameen. And remember that every good example can be taken and linked to Imam Hussain. And this is a man who has lived and breathed what I've spoken about in these past few nights. Where there is Hussain, there is God. Where there is Hussain, there is hope. Where there is Hussain, there is community, ummah and charity. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to practice what we preach. to allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to openly welcome people, to allow us to be with Rasulullah on the Day of Judgment, to allow us to take lessons from Imam Hussain alayhi salam, to allow our last words to be La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah, please forgive the sins of all our marhumeen and forgive our sins. Wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Please recite salawata ma al-Fatiha. 3 minutes over today. Shukran.
Salawat. Thank you, Sayyidina, for those wonderful lectures. I think today is the last one, isn't it? Tomorrow's Jummah. And you will be here tomorrow evening, yeah?
I will try to.
Yeah, inshallah, it'd be nice if you. Sheikh's started lectures from Thursday, and today was his last lecture. But thank you for those enlightening lectures. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and the way you connected the Quran and the du'as, Dua Kumail in particular, and Dua Arafat, I think was very good. And it was some things which I think kids could resonate with. Unfortunately, there weren't many people when Sheikh was reciting. For those who weren't there, you missed out. Because sometimes what happens when we have speakers, they're very, when they deliver lectures, they're quite advanced. And sometimes it's difficult for the youngsters or for us sometimes to follow those lectures. Or you have to be quite in depth. Whereas with Sayyidina's lecture, there was an overview, very simple to understand and to connect with us. For that, thank you so much. Inshallah. Yes, especially after that. But inshallah, hopefully we'll see you again in the Leeds. But thank you so much for that. Inshallah, ziyarat and then salam. Azan.